Are you snapping at people you love or can't sleep even though you're exhausted? Is your cycle unpredictable and your mood's all over the place and there's something that you just can't put your finger on? You just don't feel like yourself anymore. Something has changed. I hear this all the time in my practice, and the first thing I think about is progesterone. Think of your hormones like an operating system. Estrogen is the gas pedal. It gives you energy, drive, growth. Progesterone is like the brake. It gives you peace and calm and stops the growth effect of estrogens. When progesterone drops and estrogen is left unchecked, it revs you up in all the wrong ways. You can get anxiety and irritability, impatience, insomnia, heavy period, growth of the breast, cysts of the breast, tender breast, bleeding, spotting, weight gain around the breast, hips, and thighs, fluid retention, and feeling anxious for no apparent reason. I don't know if this has happened to you, but people just start to tiptoe around you because they just don't know what your moods are going to be. You may say something and choose the right words and blurt it out with some kind of irritation or tone, and then people react poorly to it and you feel bad, you feel guilty about it, and you immediately wish you didn't say it. This is not a personality change, it's a hormone imbalance, and it's very treatable. I'll tell you my story. I went through this myself. I wasn't sleeping, I was tired, I was irritable, I had brain fog, I was gaining weight, and I always sounded like I was irritated. I was irritable, and I wasn't irritated at the people, but they felt it. And I blew up a lot of relationships. When my best friend told me that my personality changed, I finally realized that I was in perimenopause. When I took progesterone, it was like the clouds parted, the sun came out. I felt like $1,000,000. I felt like myself again because I was able to sleep, I wasn't tired and irritable, I was able to lose weight, and I repaired most of my relationships, but let's face it, some people just hang on to resentments regardless. What many women find surprising is that progesterone is not a menopause problem. It starts dropping maybe 10 years prior to when you hit menopause. In most women, it's in their 40s, but in some people, it occurs even sooner. And the way I like to explain it is we're born with a set number of eggs, and we start to run out. Also, the eggs that do ripen and ovulate, progesterone may not be sufficient to manage your estrogen. During perimenopause, your estrogen can surge sky high and then dip, and then progesterone can't keep up. This is what's responsible for many of the symptoms that women complain about in PMS and perimenopause and early menopause. They get heavy, unpredictable periods. They may skip periods. They may be longer between, shorter between. You might get 2 in a month. Perimenopause is like being in a rowboat in rough seas with no oars. You're just bounced around and you feel it. Other people feel it. Your moods suffer. Your breasts may get tender. Your sleep gets disrupted and your fuse gets short. And when people do blood work, most of the time they're told it's normal. And it could be because it was drawn at the wrong time, or that the interpretation of normal is that your hormones are going to be off during this stage of life. In perimenopause, estrogen can surge sky high and dip down. Progesterone oftentimes doesn't follow, and there's not enough to calm it. It can be nearly absent in menopause, and estrogen usually goes low in menopause. Either way, when progesterone is low, regardless of whether your estrogen is normal, high, or low, when there's not enough estrogen to balance it, it's called estrogen dominance. In my practice, I only use bioidentical progesterone. That's all I prescribe. So what is it? It's the identical chemical structure to whatever fits your receptors perfectly. It's the exact same chemical that your ovaries make. It's the real thing. The bioidentical form is called oral micronized progesterone. The brand name is sold as Prometrium. And the generics are called progesterone, not medroxyprogesterone or norethindrone or anything like that. It's just plain progesterone. It is FDA approved and it's supported by every major menopause and medical organization. This is not fringe medicine. Micronized means that it's ground into fine particles so your body absorbs it well. So this is the type of progesterone that your body knows, your body understands. So if you take one thing from this video, bioidentical progesterone and progestins or progestogens are not the same thing. And this difference matters for how you feel and for safety. As we said, bioidentical progesterone is molecularly identical to what your ovaries make, and it fits your receptors perfectly. A progestin or progestogen is modified. It fits partially, it does some of the job, but it brings some side effects that your own progesterone never would. What does that mean? When it comes to clotting, bioidentical progesterone does not raise your clotting risk. Some synthetic progesterones do, and clots are what drives the increased risk of heart attack and stroke. In terms of your heart, bioidentical progesterone preserves all the protection of estrogen. Estrogen gives your heart and blood vessels protection. Some synthetic versions absolutely undo it and cancel any of the protective benefits. Actually, you can get spasms of your coronary arteries, whereas the natural bioidentical relaxes arteries. Sleep and mood. Progesterone promotes deep restorative sleep by acting on the GABA receptor. The breakdown product acts on the GABA receptors. Some synthetic progestins make sleep and mood worse. And progesterone acts differently than progestins in your breast tissue. Bioidentical progesterone is anti-estrogen and it opposes estrogen's growth signals, whereas some synthetic progestins do the opposite. They promote and stimulate the growth of breast tissue. When it comes to breast cancer risks, large studies show no increased risk with micronized progesterone. And in one study, a minuscule risk if on it over 5 years. I'll get into that a little bit more. The synthetic progestins carry a higher risk in those same studies. And these are not subtle differences. There are a difference between a hormone your body recognizes and a molecule that only partly fits. And this is where fear got so out of hand. For decades, the progestin and progesterone were used interchangeably by the medical societies and the press. So when you see progesterone causes cancer, look at the study. What did they actually use? Did they use bioidentical progesterone or did they use a synthetic progestin? Most of the time when they have those headlines, it was a progestin. And that's why I study the studies so you don't have to. And breast cancer is where women have the most fears. So it's worth a minute to look at. Study after study on bioidentical progesterone is very reassuring. The French E3N cohort found no increased breast cancer risk with estradiol plus micronized progesterone. A 2018 review in Climacteric, a very prestigious medical journal, found the same for up to 5 years. No increased risk for up to 5 years. And a large UK database study found an odds ratio of 0.99, which is exactly as close as you can get to 1, which means it's the same as women not on hormones. So women on bioidentical hormones and women not on bioidentical hormones had the exact same breast cancer risk. The 2019 Lancet analysis, pooling 58 studies, found micronized progesterone was not tied to elevated risk. But the caveat is that 2018 review noted a very possible small increase beyond 5 years, though no other studies have confirmed it. And in every decision that we make in medicine, we weigh and measure the risks and the benefits. The risks of not taking hormones are you can have an increased risk of Alzheimer's, cardiovascular disease, and osteoporosis. So leaving menopause untreated has its own risk versus weighing the minuscule risk of taking hormones that may increase the risk of breast cancer after 5 years. That was only confirmed in one study, and you have 3 other large studies that did not find that. So who needs progesterone and who could benefit? Are you waking up at 3 a.m. or having trouble going to sleep or staying asleep? Do you have anxiety, irritability, mood swings, things that just don't feel normal for you? They're not situational. Is PMS getting worse instead of better? Are your periods heavier or irregular or shorter or longer between periods? Are your breasts growing, tender, or fibrocystic? Are your moods totally out of character? Or are you on estrogen only because you had a hysterectomy and the doctor said you don't need progesterone because you don't have a uterus anymore? So you don't have to be a woman in their late 30s and 40s to be low in progesterone, because even when your periods are regular, you can still be low in progesterone. And normal labs don't mean optimal. The standard ranges are very wide, and optimal can be different for everyone. You can have a steep drop in estrogen and a steep drop in progesterone, and 1 month you might ovulate and actually make progesterone, and then the next month you don't, and then your PMS type symptoms get worse. It's important to time the test. Timing is everything, because a single level on one day may not tell you what you need to know, especially if you're testing on the wrong day. If your cycle is 28 days or longer, the best day to test is 19 to 22. If your cycles are shorter, test on day 16 to 19. This is when we can see estrogen at its peak and progesterone at its peak together, and you can see how they balance each other. Testing on the wrong day can lead you astray. So one thing about women who've had a hysterectomy, if you were told you do not need progesterone because you have no uterus to protect, that's only part of the story. There are progesterone receptors in your brain, your bones, your breast tissue, your blood vessels, and your immune system. And the benefits are real, whether or not you have a uterus. And I'm going to go into that more in part 2. This is just part 1 about progesterone. But wherever you have an estrogen receptor, you most likely have a progesterone receptor. And would you drive a car with just a gas pedal and no brake? Hormones are meant to balance each other. Every hormone has its counter hormone. So hormonal changes are normal. Suffering through that is not. There's hope and there's help. So if any of this sounds like you, find out which hormones may be off in you. I have a free hormone quiz. I'll put the link below. And this will give you a clearer picture of which hormone is driving your symptoms the most. You could have more than one hormone out of balance, but this will give you an idea of what to focus on. In part 2, I'm going to cover much more. And I'm going to tell you about the study that scared a generation of women off hormones and a generation of physicians that wouldn't prescribe them. I do prescribe progesterone to women who don't have a uterus, and they feel better. Many of them come in to me with weight gain and bloating and fluid retention. Once they go on progesterone, and they can't sleep and they're anxious, and once they go on progesterone, they feel much better. So if you benefited from this video, like, subscribe, comment, let me know what you want to hear about next, and support the channel. If you're a study nerd like myself, you can go to my website, vibranceforlife.com, and read the blog, and you can get all the references there. I want you to feel good again. Thanks for watching, thanks for listening, and bye for now.